not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate everybody being here and on a beautiful Wednesday and a very busy news day, might I add. We got a lot to get to today, but I want to start off with a sincere apology, even though it wasn't my fault. So yesterday I had a 2-hour debate with a guy by the name of Andrew Wilson. You've seen me debate him on Piers Morgan. He's a name on the right. People know who he is. He has a large following. I think he does a lot of bad faith debating and arguments and for what you want to call it. So just to give people a little bit of background, we weren't able to air it live yesterday on the show. Therefore, I wasn't able to do a live show on my social media platforms. I was on the radio. And the reason why is I spoke to the guy who put this debate together. He was the quote unquote moderator. By the way, this is why I don't like moderators when I do debates. And I was promised that it would be on my platform as well, that we can cross-promote it and do it live on my platform and his. And then 10 minutes before, we couldn't figure out how to do it. That's on their end. They made a promise to me that was not fulfilled. And because of that, it was either I do a show here and we stream it and I don't do a debate with Andrew, or I do the debate. We won't be able to air it live, but I'll be able to air parts of it today. And that's where we were. So I apologize to everybody out there that wanted to watch me on Facebook, on YouTube. By the way, our Facebook page has now over, I think, 22 or 23,000 subs we've had in the last 3 weeks. So the Facebook's doing great. Check it out, Pushing the Limits. And of course, the YouTube page at PTL Radio Show. We just passed 155,000 subscribers. So we're very thankful for that. So that is why I wasn't able to air the debate live yesterday. We are going to dissect it today. And I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, of all the debates I've done, and I've done plenty of them, this was probably the most frustrated I've ever been. And if you're an Andrew Wilson fan, I guess there are some of you out there, you'll say, Brian, you're frustrated because he owned you. No, that's not why I'm frustrated, and he didn't. I'm frustrated because it was a bad faith debate where all it was about his religion. We were supposed to have a debate about Donald Trump's ethics or lack thereof. We were supposed to be talking about Donald Trump. Instead, the debate was 90 minutes of Andrew Wilson talking about his religion and Christianity and where he gets his ethics from, which I really don't care about. We'll get into that. So in this first clip that I'm going to play for you, we're talking about ethics, and it turns into his ethics system he wants to talk about. Where does he get his ethics system from? Now, he makes the excuse, just like many other people that are religious, Christians on the far right and other religions as well, they hide behind their religion to protect themselves from bigotry. For example, being gay is a sin. I'm against gay marriage. I'm against transgenders. I'm against anybody and everybody that isn't exactly like me because my religion tells me. Now, I don't abide by those debating tactics, but that's exactly what Andrew Wilson was doing. Have a listen to this clip. I want to know you personally, how you can continue to curl yourself into the MAGA right-wing pretzel that you do every single day and hide behind your religion. I want to know how you can do that. You've made a lot of judgments in about 5 or 6 minutes about me, about what I'm going to say. You brought up Kamala Harris, which to me has absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about, which is Donald Trump. In this specific situation, his character, his flaws. Yeah, I am going to bring up the Epstein files, but I would ask you this question. Can you give me one logical reason why they have put Maxwell in a Club Med facility, allowed her a puppy, and have given her preferential treatment at the hands of the Donald Trump administration? Can you give me one logical explanation and reasoning behind they did that? Can you also explain to me
Hang on,
why?
one point at a time, Brian.
Okay, why would they do that?
So we're ceding the opening statement time. Let's just get straight into back and forth.
Okay.
Why would they do that, Andrew?
Yeah, so a good logical reason for this would be that they want to get more information out of her as to what's going on between these various cases. That could be one logical reason. Another reason, which is likely a good reason, is that she's going to cut a deal for names. That's another possible reason. So there are logical reasons why this is, but what you can't do, Brian, is you can't take an absence of evidence and then based on an absence of evidence, just fill in the blanks. That's not evidence at all. That's just speculation. Hang on, Brian. Hang on, Brian. Don't spurg out. Just let me finish.
Okay.
An absence of evidence does not make a case for you. You need to actually make an affirmative case for these things. But before we even get into that, can we start with what your ethical system is so that I understand the viewpoint you're debating from?
Sure. And then maybe we can get back to that if that's okay.
That's fine with me, yeah.
So I believe the president of the United States, the leader of the free world, should set an example for everybody else. I believe if you're the president, you probably shouldn't be attacking POWs and Gold Star families and attacking women on looks. You shouldn't be calling journalists names, and you shouldn't be hurling out second-grade insults. I believe that the president is at a higher standard than you and me and every regular, everyday American.
That's not an ethical system, Brian. Okay, that's just your opinion.
I'm giving you my opinion of what ethical standards are.
Yeah, do you have an ethical system, Brian?
Not taking advantage financially of your position.
These are opinions, Brian.
No, it's not an opinion. No, it's not an opinion.
What's the ethical system, Brian?
My definition, which I am giving you, of being an ethical being. Okay, I'm sorry. What? Okay, I heard something in the background. I don't know what that was. My definition. You're asking me what my definition of what an ethical system is. What I am doing is I am giving you my definition of what I want ethically from the president of the United States. That's what
your ethics are just whatever Brian thinks is ethical.
So this went on for literally like 90 minutes. He's talking about ethical systems. Let me be very clear. He wouldn't answer any of my questions directly. And his ethical system goes back to his religion. By the way, I don't care what his religion is. I was raised a certain way by my family, by my parents. I don't do things and live my life based on the Bible or a book or a fairy tale. I don't live my life and hide behind my religion to defend Donald Trump. That's exactly what this guy did for the entire interview. That's not a debate. I don't care what your ethical system is. I'm asking you a direct question about Donald Trump's behavior. I asked about Maxwell, okay, and why they're treating Maxwell like a VIP in a Club Med facility. And his response was, well, maybe they're trying to cut a deal. No, they're not. If they wanted to cut a deal with her, they would have done that before they sentenced her to 20 years behind bars. They're not trying to cut a deal. They're covering up for Donald Trump. And the fact that he wouldn't directly answer that question, and he's hell-bent on what is your ethical standard. I'm not a religious person. I was raised a certain way. These are my opinions. How do you support this? Well, Brian, my ethics tell me blah, 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 based on my religion. That's not a debate. And the entire interview, this drove me nuts, was about his take on abortion. He thinks abortion is murder. Okay, fine. We disagree on that. He thinks Donald Trump saved 600,000 babies from being killed. And every single time I brought up something that Donald Trump has said or done, he would say that doesn't rise to the level of 600,000 babies being killed. How do you have a debate with somebody like that? This wasn't a debate. Have a listen to this, and then he goes into the abortion issue, which, by the way, had nothing to do with what we were talking about.
Brian, I'm granting all criticisms of Trump that you say are true. I'm granting it. Literally granting it.
Andrew, this isn't going to be much of a debate if you're not going to answer my questions. So
I am answering your question. You don't have any standard from which to criticize anything I support. You have no standard to do this.
Why don't you respond to my question?
I am responding to your question. You have no standard. You have no standard from which to make a criticism. You have no ethical standards from which to make a criticism.
This is how you debate. You charge people $250. I didn't want this to go down this route because I want to have a respectful debate with you, Andrew, and I do appreciate you doing this. But I'd like to have a real debate with you.
This is a real debate.
Okay. So far,
I'm making you justify your position, Brian. Okay. That's what a real debate is.
I want to know, do you have a problem? It's a question I'm asking you, but you haven't answered any of my questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you have a problem with the leader of the free world, Donald Trump, attacking Gold Star families, saying he doesn't respect John McCain because he was captured? Let's just focus on John McCain for a moment. That one statement, which I think should have disqualified him as president to begin with. Are you okay with a man running for president attacking a POW saying you don't respect him because he was captured? I tend to respect people that were captured, that weren't captured. Are you okay with that?
Well, when you say okay here, you're asking about an ethical claim. So you're asking, Andrew, do you think that this is moral or immoral when he does this? What we have not clarified is what moral or immoral is other than a Brian value judgment. So if you're just asking me, hang on. So if you're just asking me based on value judgments of preference, do you have any issues with X thing? Then I could just always say, no, you have no standard from which to criticize this. Do you understand that?
I do understand what you're doing here. I do. I'm asking you as a human being, which I'm pretty sure you are, how you are okay with, or maybe you're not willing to admit it. Are you okay with someone in power or somebody that is running for president that would attack somebody for being a POW for 5 years, regardless of what your opinions might be on John McCain?
Yeah. So let's say I have an issue. So let's say I have an issue with almost everything Trump has ever done or said out loud. From my ethical purview, what could be more important to a Christian ethicist than the topic of abortion? From our view, from our world, hang on, from our worldview, that is the most important issue. We actually think that you're killing human beings, right? Hang on, Brian. Listen, I'm going to answer your question. I'm answering it. You just have to listen, and then you'll understand. It wouldn't even matter if I had an issue with almost everything Trump has ever said out loud. That wouldn't even be an issue. If it is the case that you can name anything which would trump, from my worldview, 600,000 children getting murdered yearly, because from my worldview, that's what we believe. That's my ethical system believes that.
So his defense, by the way, he didn't directly answer any of my questions, including that one. His only argument, which is pathetic, is, well, I don't believe in abortion. I believe abortion is murder. So anything you bring up that Donald Trump has said or done, if it doesn't rise to the level of 600,000 murders, I'm totally okay with it, and I'm not going to comment on it. That's not a debate. That is idiocy, is what it is. And I told him that. We'll get to that at the end of the interview, or debate, whatever you want to call it. That's not a conversation. That's not a debate. I believe abortion is murder. That's why I voted for Donald Trump. And anything that you bring up, if it doesn't rise to the level of 600,000, murders of babies, then I'm okay with it. How do you have a conversation with somebody like that? It's ridiculous. This is not what I signed up for. I don't care what his ethical standard is or where it comes from. This is a man-to-man conversation. Do you think this is wrong or right? Stop hiding behind your fake Christianity, because yes, I did call him out on that. I do think he's a fake Christian. When he puts that cross around his neck and he defends the indefensible. This question about John McCain had nothing to do with abortion. A normal human being with a moral compass would say, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, yeah, when you go after someone as being a POW and being captured and you say you don't respect them because they were captured, that's wrong. Any decent, normal human being with a moral compass that doesn't hide behind their religion the way this guy does would answer the question in that fashion. Every single time I brought up something that Donald Trump has done that is despicable, at least in my opinion, he would bring up the abortion issue. He does it again here. Have a listen to this. I have an actual argument, but you're
give it to me.
You're going to hide behind your fake Christian religion. This isn't going to go the way you want it to.
Fake Christian?
I think you're a fake person. Yes, I do, Andrew. And I can give you examples as to why.
What would ever trump that? Why would I have voted for her instead? Why? Can you tell me that or not?
Sure. A lot of different reasons why.
Okay,
I can go into this and why I think Kamala Harris would have been a far better candidate. First of all, I don't believe we would have been headed towards a recession. I don't believe we would have had to deal with the tariffs. I don't believe Kamala Harris would have rolled out.
Would she have expanded abortion rights, Brian?
Andrew, it's my turn now, right?
Would she have expanded abortion rights?
Andrew, smoke a cigarette.
Can you answer the question? Would she have expanded abortion rights?
Andrew, you don't get to just ask a question.
Would she have expanded abortion rights, Brian?
Okay, so Andrew, you're supposed to be the master debater. That means let me.
I just want you to answer one
Guys,
question.
if we keep on going back and forth like this, we're going to need to do a cross-examination. So maybe 20 minutes each. Do you guys want to do that? 20 minutes each of cross-examination, or do you want to just answer each other's questions?
I would like to finish answering Andrew's question before he asks me another one. He asked me about Kamala Harris, right, Andrew? You asked me, why should I have voted for her over Donald Trump?
No, that's not what I asked you.
He asked you why from his perspective.
Listen very closely to what I asked you so that you understand what I'm saying to you. From my Christian worldview, abortion is murder. It doesn't matter what you think, Brian. It matters in this case what I think. That's my worldview. That's my interpretation of the world. Okay, that's my ethical system. Yours is based on whatever Brian thinks, right? So it's just as valid for me, I guess, to say whatever Andrew thinks.
Sure, fine.
I consider each of these things. I consider each abortion a murder. I consider each abortion a murder. So if that's the case, there's 600,000 murders per year going on inside of this nation. Trump moved to overturn Roe v. Wade, thus moving the goal to cancel the idea of women being able to have abortions. Kamala Harris was going to expand this and enshrine it, meaning that over the long term, over many, many, many years, Kamala Harris, from my worldview, would have killed a drastically higher amount of people than anything you could ever pin on Trump, including COVID. If that's the case, what would be the compelling reason over that from a Christian worldview for why I should have voted for a woman who would expand that? That's my question.
So if it's going back to the abortion issue, which obviously we disagree upon, and you move the goalpost, as I said, millions of people died of COVID. And I think in part because of Donald Trump's lack of leadership during COVID. And your response to that was, well, more people would have died in the future from abortions. And you used the term murder. I fundamentally disagree with you on that issue. We've established that, Andrew. I disagree. I don't think abortion is murder. You do. And I don't care.
Can you just steel man my position so I know you know it? What is my position here?
Okay,
what's the question I actually asked you?
You think abortion is murder, clearly. And when you say that Kamala and Donald Trump stopped the killings of unborn babies, you're trying to ask me the question, from my perspective,
yes,
why should I have voted for Kamala Harris? My view. I completely disagree with your view, and here's why.
Okay, why?
I don't believe.
Oh, you don't believe?
Well, that's what this conversation is about, Andrew. We're not.
Well, I do believe, Brian. So where does that get us? I do believe, and you don't believe.
Andrew, calm down for a moment. These are my opinions and your opinions.
Okay.
You can laugh and be very condescending and be a jerk and have a conversation. Okay, Andrew, which is it going to be? You can either
I'm listening, Brian.
Okay.
I'm listening.
Hey, here's the difference, Andrew, between me and a lot of other people you debate. I don't tolerate condescension. Okay, which is what you're doing right now. You're not better than me. Your religion isn't better than me. And quite frankly, I could care where your beliefs come from. Stop laughing. Stop being a jerk. And we can have a respect.
Brian, do you understand? Do you understand?
You keep
do you even understand the ethical system?
Stop. So we keep going around in circles because this guy isn't capable of having a conversation about Donald Trump. He pivots to abortion. Every single time I bring up something Donald Trump has done, something Donald Trump has said, how he's hurting the nation, it's not as bad as 600,000 babies being murdered. By the way, in most states in this country, abortion is not only not considered murder, but it's actually legal. So his premise in saying that abortion is murder, in most states in this country, you can still have a legal abortion. It is not considered murder. So it doesn't even matter what his opinions are on abortion. If he doesn't want to have an abortion or his wife wants to have kids with multiple men, my understanding is she has, then they have the right to do so. I'm not telling them what to do. But when I bring up the comments Donald Trump has made about POWs and Gold Star families, when I bring up tariffs, when I bring up January 6th, when I bring up murdering people on boats, any of those things I bring up, he goes back to, well, my ethical system tells me abortion is murder. That's not a debate. And for the dumbasses out there that are fans of this guy, I don't know how you could listen to this guy every day. I really don't. I don't know how you could listen to this guy. How can you listen to somebody who is not capable of even having a conversation about some of the things Donald Trump has done or said? I was trying to bring those things up, and every single time he pivoted back to the abortion issue. Can't have a good faith debate or conversation with somebody like this. And it continues. Have a listen to this. First of all, there are a lot of people that don't agree that abortion is murder. I'm one of them. So going by your system, there he goes with that feminine
Well,
laughing. Because what if he was at one point the best friend of one of the biggest sex traffickers in the world? He bragged about grabbing women by the genitals.
Mhm.
He admitted on camera to sexualizing his own daughter, saying, "Boy, I would date her." If
Yeah,
she wasn't
these are so again, these are moving into very trivial criticism. So
trivial.
yeah, trivial criticisms. You would have to demonstrate with evidence that
Mhm.
Donald Trump ever raped anybody, which you can't do.
Say rape.
And you would have
Say that.
rape.
No, I didn't. No, I said I didn't say he raped.
Well, exactly. And you can't say with any evidence that he ever molested any children at all. So the thing is that these things within the
Because he won't
purview
release them.
to test the ethical system are fine, but you would need to give me an example now of something that's so egregious that he would do that I would not forgive
Sure.
whatever that trivial detail
Well-
was in comparison, hang on, to this other very egregious detail of 600,000 dying per year from
your
my view. Do you understand? Yeah, well, but Brian, remember, we're just talking about our opinions because you have no ethical system other than my opinion.
But again, I just want to be very clear. It's your opinion that abortion is murder. Very, very different.
And it's just your opinion that it's not, right?
Right.
Okay,
So
so
I
then,
wanna
so then,
be-
so then we're
so
on
every
totally
single
equal playing
time-
field here because you have no ethical system other than opinion.
Okay, so first of all, and I will continue by saying it's not trivial when Donald Trump bragged about going into teenage girls' locker rooms without their permission. That's not trivial. Donald Trump admitted to doing that himself, and there are witnesses that have said that took place. Donald Trump bragged about going into those teenage locker rooms, beauty pageants, in a sexual manner on the Howard Stern show. It's not trivial to say that there are 25 plus women that have accused Donald Trump of rape or sexual assault, including his ex-wife in court documents under oath. It is not trivial to say that Donald Trump has cheated on every single woman he's ever been with, including Melania Trump when he had unprotected sex with a porn star 2 weeks after Barron was born, and he paid her $130,000 in hush money. That is not trivial. It's not trivial to say Donald Trump is a liable sexual abuser, proven in a court of law by a jury of his peers. That's not trivial. It's not trivial to say that Donald Trump dodged the military multiple times. It's not trivial to say that Donald Trump is all over the Epstein files, and it is a huge cover-up from the top all the way down, and I can give you examples as to why. That is not trivial. But you see, he wants to bring it back to the abortion issue on every single argument that I make or topic. That is not a good faith conversation. That is not a debate, and I cannot believe he charges people to give debate advice when your argument every single time when I bring something up is it's not as bad as killing 600,000 babies. How can you have a conversation with somebody like that? And again, I also understand that he has a lot of ignorant people that listen to him, a lot of idiots that probably listen to him, that enjoy watching him chain smoke on the air, which is, by the way, you want to talk about ethics? You're doing interviews on Piers Morgan and whatever. Forget about my show, any show, and you're smoking. You can't contain your nicotine habit by putting the cigarettes away and being professional. If you want to talk about ethics, you want to preach ethics and you support a liable sexual abuser. You want to preach ethics to me. So this is towards the end of the interview. It was probably the last minute or so of the interview. And it did not go very well, not because he owned me. And I know a lot of sicko fans of Andrew will say, well, he owned you because, he established his ethical standards and he thinks abortion is murder. That's owning somebody? No, it's dodging every single question that I asked him. Because if you notice, he didn't answer any question directly. So if you know, Andrew, a video went viral for all the wrong reasons a week or two ago. He was doing a debate with a female who happened to be gay. And he was insulting her and calling her stupid and a number of other things. And she responded by saying, if you talk about your Christian beliefs, then what about your wife who has kids with multiple men? I think that's a very fair thing to bring up because in his own religion, they say they're against it, right? For lack of a better term. So she brings that up in this video that went viral, and he responds by attacking her for being gay, calling her a dyke, among other words, And he also says she licks schniz, which is, first of all, I've never heard anybody talk like that. Beyond disrespectful, beyond unprofessional. And because she beat him in the argument by showing the example of a double standard, he lost it. So this is the same guy that is trying to preach to me about ethics. The guy smokes in the middle of interviews. He supports a liable sexual abuser. He attacks women for being gay for no reason other than his hatred towards homosexuality, and tells a woman licks schniz. I mean, I've never heard anybody talk like that. So I addressed that with him when he tried to claim that he won the debate. By the way, what type of insecure little girl do you have to be where in every debate at the end you say, I won the debate. I won the debate. I beat you. I won the debate. That's like a 13-year-old girl in some freshman high school debating class coming home to her parents saying, I think I won the debate, Mom. I think I won the debate, Dad, which, by the way, that would be okay. But Andrew Wilson is supposed to be a grown man. I beat you, Brian. I won the debate. What an insecure dweeb this guy is, okay? So this is at the end of the interview when things got a little bit heated. Listen to this. The same. I think maybe next time we could do it maybe in a more productive fashion. We can talk about that.
Well, just pick a different, if you want to do a different prompt, do a different prompt.
Okay. I'm totally okay with that,
And
Andrew.
you can lose on that one too.
Okay. Well, again, that's your opinion, just like your opinion on abortion and your opinion.
Well, you have no ethical system, dude.
Listen, according to Andrew's Christian, background and values, it says that he has to agree that he won every debate. I understand.
You just don't have any ethical system.
Well, again, the guy who is a Donald Trump supporter who supports a liable sexual abuser wants to preach to me on ethics.
Yes, Andrew, I do want to preach to you on ethics. Yes.
Okay, yeah, I do.
Because you don't know anything about it.
You're right, Andrew. Telling a woman to lick schniz is very ethical in a debate. You're right, Andrew. You're very ethical. Okay,
yeah, telling your girlfriend to kill herself, that was very ethical.
I never told any girlfriend to kill herself. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't know. Hey,
that is a lie.
That's just what I heard.
What girlfriend did I say should kill herself? What did I?
Where did I say? That's just what I heard. I'm just going to repeat things I heard.
Good way to get sued for defamation. I didn't hear it. I watched it. You told a woman to lick schniz. So don't you give me this BS.
Is that it? Like, you want to make things personal, and then the second I fire back, you get upset?
Andrew, have a nice day. I never told anybody in my life to kill themselves. You're a moron, and you're a liar. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah, you too.
That's pretty much how it ended, and then he started laughing. By the way, what a terrible thing to say to somebody. I was bringing up an example of how he's a hypocrite because he wants to talk about his ethical standards and Christianity, yet he mocks a woman for being gay during an interview because she owned him and then tells her to lick schniz. That is not very ethical by any standard, any religion. So I bring that up because that's what he said. It's a fact, not an opinion. And then he says something out of thin air, which is not true, which is I told a girlfriend to kill herself. Not only is that not true, but it's despicable. Never would I say that. And it's despicable. So I don't pay attention to claims like that. I don't pay attention to trolls like that. But for him to even make a statement like that is insane. I was fact-based on the way he treated this woman in this debate. I quoted what he said. Very factual. That's not getting personal. That's just being factual with the way he treated somebody. And then he just makes something up out of thin air that is not true. That's a professional debater. He embarrassed himself. Now, chances are, if you're an Andrew Wilson fan, you think Andrew did a great job because for the entire debate, he wouldn't answer any of my questions. And he said that doesn't rise to the level of all these babies being murdered. That was his defense for everything, which is a joke. He wouldn't directly answer any of my questions, and it always went back to his ethical standard. That's what these religious freaks do. They have no moral standards. They hide behind their religion to shadow their bigotry. Andrew Wilson is a very insecure guy, and if you bring receipts on the things he said and the way he behaves, he goes on the attack and he makes things up. Before this debate started, and this is why I don't like to have moderators, because the moderator completely, in my personal opinion, screwed up what the topic was supposed to be. The topic was not about ethical standards that Andrew has in his religion and abortion. That's not what this was about. This was about Donald Trump's ethics. Now, Andrew could say, well, my religion says there's nothing wrong with that or this. Okay, that's fine. But the entire debate was either about his take on abortion, his excuse on why he thinks abortion is murder, and that's worse than anything that Donald Trump has said or done. That's pretty much what he did for the entire debate, and ethical standards. I don't live by a Bible or a book. I also don't live by a fairy tale. I'm not a very religious person. I believe in a higher power. But I behave, and my ethical standards, as Andrew would like to say, is based on the way I was raised in my family, not some fairy tale religion. Yes, I do think what Andrew believes is hypocrisy and fairy tales. I don't live my life based on that. But here's the thing. I don't care what Andrew's religion is. I don't care where he gets his beliefs from. I want to know what he thinks is right or wrong. I want to know what he thinks is ethical or unethical. I want to know if it bothers him. And every single time I bring something up in this so-called debate, he goes back to, well, it's not as bad as 600,000 babies being murdered because of abortion. How can you have a conversation with somebody like that? You can't. So one of those Rumble right-wing shows, and I don't even recall what the show's name was, there were a lot of people that were analyzing my debate yesterday. There were a ton of shows online, social media, that were analyzing the debate and breaking it down. I happened to be going through my social medias, and I saw this one show. So I decided to just call in. And then all of a sudden, Andrew Wilson is there. And the host says, do you mind if Andrew pops up? I said, sure. So basically, long story short, Andrew wants to do another debate. I said, the only way I'm going to do another debate is if a few things happen. First of all, you're not going to throw out vulgarities, which he did like over 40 times. Number two, you're not going to talk about your religion or abortion. We are going to talk about why I feel like Donald Trump is hurting this country. That is what we are going to focus on. Now, part of that could be policy. Another part of that could be his behavior. Andrew agreed to do that. I said, okay, if you're willing to do that, and we don't need to talk about ethical systems or your take on abortion, then I will do that. So we will see if that happens. But those are the guidelines that I am going to abide by. And if he doesn't want to do that and he wants to continue to talk about ethical standards, the guy who supports Donald Trump, you want to talk about no ethics, then go ahead and do that. But I find some of the most religious people in society are some of the biggest sinners. I feel like some of the most religious people in society are the biggest phonies that you can find. I told Andrew multiple times in this so-called debate that he is a fake Christian. I believe he's a fake Christian. I believe he's a phony. I don't think he's a good debater. I would not allow him to be condescending to me. He's certainly not better than me. And just because he's a religious zealot and a Bible thumper does not mean that he's better than me either. I made that very clear in the debate. I'm not going to be bullied. And as I said before, and I say again, if you're a fan of Andrew and you're a Trump supporter, your interpretation, no matter how the debate went, was Andrew beat the crap out of you. Unfortunately, I don't care. I don't care. So I want to open up the phone lines, and maybe you guys, whether you're an Andrew fan or not, you can call into this show. If you agree or disagree with me, how did you think? And again, I played excerpts of it. Most of the debate is up on my YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show, where you can watch the full clips. The number to call if you want to be a part of the program right now is 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you want to be a part of the show, 702-221-SAVE, 702-221-7283. I'm not exaggerating when I say, when I brought up all the things that Trump has done that I think are unethical, he brought it back to, well, that's not as bad as killing 600,000 babies. And he talked about the abortion issue. So again, we couldn't have a much of a good faith debate at all, because he always went back to that. I don't care where he gets his ethical standards from. He could have gotten it from his family. He could have gotten it from a friend. He could get it from your religion. I don't care. I'm having a debate with him on why. Why do you think this is okay? Why is it okay to incite an insurrection? Why is it okay to lie about the 2020 election? Why is it okay to have unprotected sex with a porn star 2 weeks after Barron is born? Why is it okay to murder people in boats without any due process? These are the things that I wanted to discuss with him. Why are you okay with this? And it always went back to the abortion issue, and it was embarrassing. And I was frustrated, not because he was beating me in a debate. How could you characterize this as beating somebody in a debate when every single time you bring up the abortion issue as a defense? It's because he wouldn't answer my questions and we wouldn't debate on the real issues and why I could never support Donald Trump. He did not want to talk about it. So let's get right straight to the phone calls. And again, that number is 702-221-7283. Again, that number is 702-221-SAVE. All right. Why don't we start out with Alexa? Alexa is first up on PTL. Hey, Alexa, what's going on?
Hey, Brian, I was wondering, why was he worried about abortions when they cut the food stamps and Medicaid?
Well, I did bring that up. And Alexa, here's what I said to him in that debate that you can watch. It's online on my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show. I said, if you truly care about, in your instance, innocent people being, or as he defines it, as innocent babies being murdered, and if you want to call yourself pro-life, which, by the way, he's not, he's anti-abortion, I would say, then why are you okay with 20 million people getting taken off of Medicaid? How many people do you think will die that lose their Medicaid? How many people that you think will die of starvation if they don't have food on the table when they lose their food stamps? How many people are dying in this country because of COVID and Donald Trump's lack of leadership? He didn't want to address any of those issues. I would argue millions of people died of COVID in this country. It didn't have to be this way. Donald Trump did not take the virus seriously. His buffoon followers didn't take it seriously. And sadly, a lot of people died because of it. But he doesn't want to talk about Donald Trump's lack of leadership when it comes to that. He doesn't want to talk about 20 million people in the big and beautiful bill that are going to be losing their Medicaid coverage. A lot of people are going to die because of that. But it doesn't seem like Andrew wants to talk about that, or all the people that have been gunned down and children in our schools and gun violence. He didn't want to talk about any of those casualties because it doesn't rise to the level of 600,000 babies being murdered. You cannot, I brought up all those issues, by the way, in the debate. You cannot have a good faith argument with this guy. He is a buffoon.
Well, Brian, to bring up another thing about Medicaid, I just found out yesterday I have a whole nother aid that comes in 3 days a week. I got cut off yesterday from my own care.
I'm so sorry.
I don't. It's okay. It's okay. I'll deal with it.
Here's the thing, right, my dear? And by the way, I am so sorry that you are going through what you are going through. I'm so sorry to hear that, my dear. My heart is with you. Andrew doesn't want to talk about people like you. Nice, good, hardworking people. You sound like a very nice lady. My heart goes out to you. He wants to talk about the unborn like every other MAGA idiot. But as soon as that baby is born, take away maternity leave, take away health care, take away food stamps, take away welfare, take away any government program that could help that baby or people like you. Once that baby is born, they're done with you. Unless you sign up to go to war, then they're okay with that. My heart goes out to you, my dear. Guess what? I care about people like you, and I also care about women, and I want them to have the right to choose what they do with their bodies, and I'm not going to have some middle-aged, dorky white guy who smokes cigarettes. And by the way, our health insurance is more because of that moron who's a chain smoker, by the way. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Shelly. Shelly is next up on PTL. Hello, Shelly.
Hey, Ben. I watched that after Numchuck put it on your comment. I clicked on it, and it went to the Crucible, and I watched it. Mm-hmm. And that man is insufferable.
It was very difficult to have a conversation with him. I've had some debates with a lot of people that are extremely annoying and difficult to have conversations with, but I think that was that rises to the top because he wouldn't answer one of my questions.
I donated $2 just to take up for you.
Well, Shelly,
I did, honestly.
Shelly, I really appreciate it.
He pissed me off so bad.
He pissed me off pretty good too, Shelly. It's really nice to hear from you, and I do appreciate your support and your phone call. Let's go to Josh. Josh is next up on PTL. Hey, Josh, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, dude? So that debate yesterday, I can't even fathom how frustrated you were because the amount of times I had to throw my glasses on my desk exceeded about 5 times.
Yeah, you can imagine how I felt. I was pretty frustrated. Yeah.
I was frustrated for you.
Yeah.
Like, like this idiot thinks every single person has this big magical book that says, murder's bad. We shouldn't murder. And that's how you know not to murder somebody.
You know what I feel like,
no
Josh?
sense to me.
You know what? It doesn't. You know what it feels like, Josh? If Donald Trump walked into a school and shot 30 kids, Andrew would say, well, that's terrible, but that's not as bad as 600,000 babies being murdered, so I'll still support him. You can't have a
question.
You can't have a conversation.
The thing you should have said that would have ended his argument right there. Right now, if my girlfriend or wife or whatever is pregnant and she's not due until March of 2026, can I claim that baby on my taxes for 2025?
Yeah.
No? Okay. That the baby's not a human.
Yeah, that's
according to the law, the baby is not a human.
That's true.
So it doesn't matter what your ethics are. It's not a human, according to the law.
Well, let me be very clear. I don't think Andrew has any ethics, and I will tell him that next time we have a conversation, and then he'll say I'm getting personal with him. But the reason why I will make a statement like that is because he defends Donald Trump, his behavior, his actions, the things he does. And his defense of it is, well, that doesn't equal to 600,000 babies being murdered. That was his argument the entire debate. That's not a good faith debate. It's
the whole time. It was amazing to watch.
Yeah,
amazing to watch.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I've seen Andrew on TV multiple times. I've debated him on Piers Morgan before. I didn't think he was this stupid. I'm wrong. I was wrong. I actually thought we could have had somewhat.
How could anyone pay him for that?
Yeah, I mean,
did he think you were a paying customer and he was teaching you how to debate?
Perhaps. Listen, I don't think he's a very bright person. I can't believe he has the following he has.
I mean, realistically, no MAGA is that bright. They're the lowest form of Homo sapien to exist.
Listen, I disagree with Tim Pool on a number of different issues, but I don't think Tim Pool is a dumb guy. I think
he seems like an actually level-headed dude.
I don't think he's dumb. I mean, I think he's extremely intelligent. I disagree with him on a lot of different stuff, but I could sit down and have a debate with him.
Yeah,
Andrew, I don't think Andrew's smart enough. I really don't. I either he's not smart enough, or he just uses these debate tactics, and all he cares about is his debate tactics rather than a good faith conversation and answering questions.
That's what it seemed like it was. It seemed like he was coaching you how to debate rather than just getting an argument or a conversation going. It literally went nowhere.
Yeah, well,
the whole time it was a waste of 2 hours.
I agree with you, and I'm not going to play that game. I'm not going to be bullied, and I'm not going to allow. And I made it very clear to him that you're not going to be condescending to me. You're not smarter than me. Smoke your cigarettes. Go ahead. But you can continue to talk about abortion, and that's your defense for every single thing that I bring up. And then he's like, Brian, how could I have a debate with you if I don't know what your ethical standards are? I answered that for him. I said, I don't abide by, a religion or a book. It's the way I was raised, my family. Okay, that should have been the end of it.
You know what that seemed like? Did you ever see the movie Anger Management?
Yeah, I love that movie with Adam Sandler. Yeah, I love it.
Do you remember Adam Sandler's character and Jack Nicholson's character in the first the sit down group they had? They're like, great.
I do.
Who are you? I'm a good guy. I don't care about your personality. I just want to know who you are.
Right.
Okay, well, I like to play tennis. Yeah. I don't care about your hobbies. It's like I'm answering the question for you. What else do you want from me? Let
me ask you one more question before I let you go. He wants to do another debate. And I said, the only way I'm going to do it is if we're not talking about ethical standards or abortion, giving reasons why I think Donald Trump's policies are bad and why I think he's bad for the country. He agreed to do that. Should I do it?
Only if there's no moderator.
Yeah, that guy was useless.
If you do it like any of your other interviews, just a free-flowing conversation. That's what we want.
That guy didn't moderate.
He want that.
That guy was utterly useless.
No, he didn't do it at all.
Yeah, he was useless. Yeah. Thank you for the call, my friend. I appreciate you, and I tend to agree with you. Let's go to Jason. Jason is next on PTL. Hey, Jason.
Okay, so number one, what an excellent job. You were very professional. And number two, that's why I don't call myself a Christian. I'm a disciple of Christ. So his ethics was trash. If you wanted, I wish I would have been able to call in because I would have said your ethics are ridiculous. Because in Proverbs it says when you follow a fool, which is Donald Trump, that means you're a fool. That's number one. And then I would have said your Christian values. I didn't see you marching in the Black Lives Matter when that cop had his neck on George Floyd. Number three, I was like you said, SNAP. How about all people with pre-existing conditions that are going to be taken on Medicaid? Do you care that they got cancer, stage 4? Do you care they got diabetes? What is your ethics? Because I tell you right now, if Jesus walked up to you, he wouldn't even recognize. Matter of fact, he say, "Depart from me, a worker of iniquity," because that's what he is. He's a worker of iniquity. He follows Satan's son, who is Trump. Trump is the devil, and so is Andrew Wilson. What a great job you did, because I tell you right now, like you said, that female from the alternative lifestyle destroyed him, made him look like when he is the biggest simp on the planet. He is a simp. And Christian values, that's the reason why I don't call my Christian and religion start wars. Jesus never started a war in his life.
This is why I am not a very religious person, because so many people, not everybody, but so many people hide behind their religion to defend their bigotry and their hatred and their bias. And I do believe Andrew Wilson is that person. It's why I called him a fake Christian multiple times.
But you got to also remember this: Christianity led slavery in America. So I would say you would have been okay if Donald Trump tomorrow said slavery's back in effect. You'd be like, okay, I'm a Christian. No, you said baby. Man, you did such a great job. Because I'm telling you right now, if I was in the same office or whatever arena he is, I would have punched him in the face. Even though I try to follow Christ, he would have got knocked out.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I understand it, Jason. I understand your frustration, my friend. Let's go to Leon. Leon is next up on PTL. Hey, Leon, what's going on? Leon, you got to lower your radio, please.
All righty.
Thank you. What's on your mind?
Okay. I just want to tell Brian that he did a great job with the debate. Just want to tell him that sometimes he has to use the same scriptures against them to prove his point, because there's more scriptures that talk more about helping and being there for the downtrodden than there is for helping and supporting the rich. And so I just think that he needs to just find those specific scriptures and use that against, like Brian says, the fake Christian.
This is Brian, by the way, Leon. Just so you know, you're talking to Brian right now.
Are you on? Am I on air?
You are, as far as I know, unless the FCC has taken us off the air. Yeah, we
are. Okay. Well, my apologies. I just want to tell you. Okay. First of all, let me start over and tell you happy holidays, my brother.
Thank you.
And I appreciate everything that you do. I watch your show every day that I get a chance. And I love the way you battle those knuckleheads, those fake Christians, those maggots. And like I said, you use the scriptures to combat against those idiots, man, especially that idiot, because he is definitely the Antichrist, a fake Christian. And, for me, following what I follow and my beliefs, it has absolutely nothing to do with some idiot out there that proclaims to be a Christian. Me as a person, I'm there to support everybody, to love everybody. I don't care what you do, how you look.
That's the only way to go, my friend. That's the truth. That's the only way to go. I appreciate your kind words, Leon, and it means a lot to me. So I appreciate you calling in. Quickly to the YouTube super chat. Sean Green says, I'm sick of hearing about profile from anti-choicers since Korea. GOP presidents have started every major and most minor military conflicts. Not very profile at all. Do soldiers matter less? Well, of course not, Sean, and I'm with you. And I care so much about our brave men and women in uniform, and I'm with you 100%. Thank you. Let's go to Terry. Terry is next up on PTL. Hi, Terry.
Super chat.
Terry, lower your radio if you can, please. Go right ahead. Terry, I need you to lower your radio, please, because we're on a delay. If you can do that, then we can do this. You ready, Terry? Go right ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Hello.
Yes, go right ahead, Terry.
Hi, Brian. You talked to me a couple months ago about autistic, and I'll tell you about my son.
Yes.
First of all, okay. Happy holidays. And I was very seriously.
Thank you.
First of all, I listened to your podcast with that idiot last night. I do not like him trying to be a psychiatrist. Okay? That's what he's trying to belittle you in so many ways. And I'm looking at this fool because, see, they just say people wear sheep clothing. Mm-hmm. He's a sheep clother. And, you want to debate on intelligence, what everybody is feeling in the country, what Trump is doing, which is really, really devilish.
You know what's frustrating to me, though? You know what's frustrating to me, though, is that people will say, well, Brian's ethics come from himself, so that can't be correct. But if your ethics come from a religion, the religion must be completely 100% correct. Let me tell you something. Those people are some of the dumbest people that America has to offer. They are a bunch of morons. Who the hell is to say that your ethical standards from your religion make you right, and somebody else ethical standards from the way they were raised makes them wrong. A person who thinks like that is a sicko fan, or chances are a Trump psychopath, a Trump supporting psychopath. They're some of the dumbest people. Oh, so because you get your ethics from Christianity, that makes you right 100% of the time, and I'm wrong? These people are some of the dumbest people you can have a conversation with. They're idiots.
But the thing about it is, Brian, you got to look at it. He tried to make you. I've been doing it all my life. My mother was a professional, okay? They try to make you like you're ignorant, like you're uneducated, and unintelligent. And when you kept saying, let's stay on topic, and he kept saying, when you were talking about girls of 13 years old, the family don't want to have a baby because of how that baby was occurred, and he said, well, you should have the baby. You know what? That tells me that's the devil in sheep clothing.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about it is, Brian, I want you to understand something. Do not allow nobody to believe in you like he tried to do last night. Mm-hmm. And I'll clap my hand. Brian, if it was in front of you, I'll give you the biggest hug in the world. Yeah. Because this man is not intelligent. He's not educated. Because educated people would sit there and listen to the debate and debate on topic.
Yeah, no.
Every time you say something,
yep, I agree.
Every time you say something, it's about abortion.
It goes back to abortion. Yeah. I think there was a question that I asked him about if Donald Trump molested a child, would you defend it because it's not as bad as killing 600,000 babies? And he actually took a double take on that, and he actually did answer that, and it didn't sound like he would be okay with that. But I'm like, where's the bar? It's so stupid. Thank you for the call, my dear. I appreciate you. Let's go to Phil. Phil is next up on PTL. Hello, Phil.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Hey, I just wanted to comment on your so-called debate with Mr. Wilson.
Yeah.
I think it was a one-way street. He did all the talking.
I'm sorry, I did all the talking, or he did?
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a debate.
I agree with you. I agree.
He was professing. You know what he did, Brian? He professed his Christianity.
I agree, 100%. I agree with you. And here's what.
And you know what,
Phil?
Yeah, go ahead.
Phil, here's the thing, Phil. If the debate was about his religion, then that would be okay.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not. I'm not a religious person. I would never agree to a debate like that. That's not what the debate was about. This was about Donald Trump and his actions that I think are unethical. His behavior, unethical, and how Andrew can defend it. That was what this debate was supposed to be about, and it wasn't supposed to be about Andrew's religion. I could care less what anybody's religion is. I don't care what your religion tells you. I care about you, the human being. Why is this okay? You know, and he went back to abortion and didn't answer anything.
No, you're right. You're right. Here's what I would say to Mr. Wilson. If I ever saw him or talked to him, I would say, look, you Christians that profess your Christianity, walk the walk, God.
Yeah.
Walk the walk.
I agree with you.
Walk the walk.
Yeah.
Walk the walk. I mean, I can't stand it. He was, and not only that, I just wanted to comment on his behavior.
Yeah.
What about behavior? They don't look at behavior, like Trump's behavior. Yeah. It's okay. To them, it's okay.
It's so indefensible, Phil. It's so despicable. Phil, I really appreciate your call, and I agree with you 150%. And again, if you're an Andrew Wilson supporter, or chances are you support Donald Trump, you'll say, Brian doesn't know what ethics are. No, I do know what ethics are. And everybody has a different set of rules on what is ethically sound and what is not. Some people might get their ethics from their religion, which I don't. Some people might get what ethics are right or wrong from their family members, from their parents, from friends, from people they grew up with. I don't care where the origin comes from where your ethics are at. What I care about is how you defend some of Donald Trump's behaviors. That's what the debate was supposed to be about. Not a 90-minute debate about how you think abortion is murder, and not a 90-minute debate on where you got your ethics from. That wasn't what the debate was supposed to be about. Now, I understand a lot of people that listen to Andrew, that like Andrew, are not very intelligent, because I don't think Andrew is very intelligent. So chances are you can't follow along with me, even if I speak very slowly. I feel sorry for some of you people. Let's go to Scott. Scott is next up on PTL. What's up, Scott?
I'm good. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving.
I did.
This is what annoys me the most about Trump supporters. They'll engage you in conversation and then overtalk you. They can't expand the topic. They have to focus on one little narrow topic because they're too simple-minded. And, then they make you angry. Then they're like, gotcha. You ain't got nothing, bro. Like, this guy, I didn't hear your debate, but he sounds like an idiot. And, Chris, in the Bible, it says one bad apple spoils the bunch, and I see a whole lot more than one bad apple. So take the plank of wood out of your eye before you take the speck of dust out of mine. So.
Amen, my friend. I'm with you 100%. I certainly agree with you. Thank you for the phone call. Let's go to Mark. Mark is next up on PTL. What's up, Mark?
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Good.
Listen, I want to talk a little bit about this Andrew Wilson dummy. That was not a good faith discussion.
Yeah, I agree.
He practiced the exact same strategy Jordan Peterson does.
Yeah.
He found his moral and ethical standards, and he never strayed. And you could have got him if you just would have said, hey, if Kamala Harris didn't overturn Roe versus Wade, she just left it like it is, could you vote for them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, listen, you can't have a good faith argument, debate, whatever you want to call it, with somebody like that if they're not willing to talk about the real issues. The entire conversation was about ethical standards and his religion, and his defense of every single time I brought up the indefensible Donald Trump's actions and behaviors, he went back, well, that's not as bad as killing 600,000 babies. That's not a debate. That's not a conversation. At least I could sit down with Tim Pool and we can disagree, but we could have a debate. And I can do that with Tim Pool. And by the way, I'm going to do that with Tim Pool again in a couple weeks. I'm going to be back on his show. I can do that with Tim because I know at least Tim can talk. When I bring up Donald Trump's sexcapades and his behavior and the things he said about John McCain, immediately Tim will say, yeah, that was wrong. Yeah, Donald Trump's a pig. At least I could start a foundation of a discussion with Tim because he's willing to admit that. Andrew can't even admit that.
Yeah, and one last thing about that thing about telling your girlfriend to kill herself. You said that it was insane that he said that.
Yeah.
That is not insane. I live in South Carolina. We don't have nothing but MAGA people down here. It ain't insanity. It is typical. It's right out of the playbook.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but I can tell you that I would never tell anybody to do that. I would never tell anybody behind bars to do that. I would never tell any innocent person to do that. I would never tell a girlfriend to do that. I think that was just Andrew making something up out of thin air because I caught him. And I used his own words against him when he talked about licking schniz, when he made those horrible comments to that woman who owned him in a debate, talking about his wife's, baby daddies. And I quoted him. And I said, if you want to talk about ethics, is this the ethical way to talk to somebody in a debate? And what does he do? He says, oh, well, you told your girlfriend to kill herself. I mean, just so stupid. It's so not true. And it's so ridiculous. But that's the guy who charges $250 an hour for debating advice. It's so ridiculous. A couple more quick calls, then we got to take a break because we have Judge Matthew Walker coming in studio next. I want to ask this judge about what's going on in this country right now and the attacks on judges all over the country. Judge Matthew Walker is going to be joining us in the studio next. And we'll take some phone calls too, some legal questions to ask Judge Walker, who's been a judge for quite some time now. Ramona's next. Hey, Ramona.
Hi, Brian.
How's it going?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind?
Well, I caught the tail end of that debate with that jackass yesterday. Oh my God! I mean, you conducted yourself like a gentleman. This man has I don't know. He's mega.
Yeah.
And there's no reason with these people. They're right and you're wrong, no matter what.
Yeah, you can't have I can change my mind on certain issues, and by the way, I have. I thought for a while that Mehdi Hassan was anti-Semitic, and I've openly admitted on the air that I was wrong. I don't believe he is. I think he's right on a lot of what's taking place within the Israeli government. And I was wrong. I'm the first person who can listen to other people and could make a decision based on maybe information that I was wrong about, but the difference between somebody like me and somebody like Andrew, there's a lot of differences, but the main difference is I'm willing to debate anybody and I'm willing to answer anybody's questions. And obviously Andrew was not. Let's go to Patrick. Patrick is next up on PTO. Hello, Patrick.
Let's go to
Patrick, please lower your
Hey,
radio.
Brian, how you been doing, buddy? How you doing, man?
What's going on, man?
Hey, yesterday you were talking about gun control. Did kind of come up on the back end of the debate.
You know why it did. You know why it did, right?
I guess you brought it up. I don't know.
Well, the reason why, Patrick, I brought up gun control and gun is because, unfortunately, a lot of people die in this country. And there's a lot of gun violence in this country. So if Andrew wanted to be consistent, which clearly he's not because he thinks abortion is murder, then I would also say, with that being said, why doesn't he talk about gun violence? That's why I brought that up. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, you have these 5 pillars of what you do about gun control. You know, if you just give you a couple, you definitely reduce gun control is what you say. But yesterday you found it interesting that you said you were indifferent about banning assault rifles.
So there have been times where I say an assault weapons ban could be a really good idea. And then there's other times that I say I think there are more prevalent things that would save a lot of lives. That's why I said I am indifferent. The assault weapons ban in the early 80s that fizzled out. When Republicans allowed it to fizzle out, gun violence went up. The reason why I said I am indifferent to it is because I named 3 or 4 things that I think are more prevalent that would save more lives. That's why I said that yesterday, Patrick. So I hope I cleared that up for you. Is there anything else you'd like to bring up?
Well, it'd be good to have a foundation in your beliefs, but
I do have a foundation. I do have a foundation of my beliefs. My beliefs are
no system.
Patrick.
You have no foundation.
Patrick. You're doing a
Whatever
great job.
trendy you go
got him
with.
down for a second. So Patrick, you're doing a great job in trying to mimic Andrew Wilson. You're not funny with that. I have a foundation in my beliefs. You see, I was raised to have a clear understanding. Well, let's go through it one by one. I'll go by Andrew Wilson. Patrick, do you think sexual abuse is wrong? Let's just have a conversation about this. Patrick, is sexual abuse a bad thing?
Yeah, but some religions.
Okay, hold on. I'm asking you, not anybody else. Who taught you that, Patrick? Do you have a belief system? Who taught you that?
Yeah, it's my religious background.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's your religion.
My core belief.
Okay, got you.
My core belief system.
Okay. So my belief system and the way I was raised tells me that sexual abuse is bad. Now, it doesn't matter where we got that from. What matters is we're on the right side of history and sexual abuse is bad. My question to Andrew would be, why would you support somebody that is a liable sexual abuser? He goes back to the abortion issue. I ask a lot of different questions on the behavior and the actions of Donald Trump. I don't care where you got it from. I don't care where your background is on who taught you. I could care less what your religion is. It doesn't matter how we formed that conclusion. The bottom line is we're right. Sexual abuse is bad.
In a debate, you're not supposed to agree with someone's statement. The whole point of a debate is to rebut their belief system. It's like you're sitting there saying, I don't believe your belief system. That's why you debate them. That's why you say,
no. Patrick, let me help you out. Patrick, let me help you out. The debate wasn't about debating belief systems. The debate was about Donald Trump's behavior. Now, obviously, you are ignorant to facts. That's what the debate was supposed to be about. Like this, Patrick, you call yourself a religious person, right, Patrick? What do you think about homosexuality? As we pod you back up, Patrick, what do you think about homosexuality? Is it a sin?
Yeah, it's easy to debate people.
Patrick, I'm asking you a direct question. What do you think about homosexuality?
I think it's wrong.
You think it's wrong. And where do you get that from, Patrick? Is that your personal belief, or are you hiding behind your religion because you're a fake Christian? Which is it, Patrick?
Because anytime I see a guy kiss another guy, it's like seeing maggots.
Well, because you're homophobic, Patrick. I think you've had things happen to your life.
It's just a natural instinct.
Oh, it's a natural instinct. Well, guess what? I believe you when you say it's natural instinct that you're a bigot. I believe you, Patrick, when you say your natural instinct.
It's not normal.
No, it is.
Two guys
No. According to you, it's not normal because anybody that is not like you is not normal. I don't think it's normal to be Patrick, to be an uneducated, ill-informed, middle-aged white guy that doesn't have a clue what he's talking about. No. I don't think it's normal to be Patrick.
You're very emotional.
Patrick, my ethical. Patrick, here's some substance for you, and you can't even spell that word, you uneducated fool, you. Here's some substance for Patrick. My ethical system tells me Patrick is your typical middle-aged, stupid, uneducated, ill-informed, racist, bigot Trump supporter. My ethical system tells me that Patrick should be locked up in Guantanamo Bay. My ethics system tells me that Patrick should be denaturalized. My ethics system tells me that Patrick has an IQ of about 20. And my ethics system tells me that Patrick is on government assistance because he doesn't have a job and Patrick doesn't have an education and he wants to blame everybody else but himself. And when he calls into the show and embarrasses himself and tries to get Brian in a gotcha moment, he only exposes how stupid he is. My ethical system tells me that you are deplorable, and I am embarrassed that I am living in a country where there are people out there like Patrick. See, that's my ethical system, Patrick. Now go fly a kite and have a nice day, you dumb imbecile. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I have to bring my guest in. Keep the callers on the line. I know we have people on the line that are waiting. We will take more phone calls on the other side. Judge Matthew Walker coming up next. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super hero, that is, because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
You are way too smart, way too talented, way too good to be where you are. You are meant to be making way more money, feel way hotter in your body, and having way more fun. Hi, I'm Nicole Mitchell, and I'm a life coach. I help you get hotter and richer. If that is what you're looking for, you can find me at NicoleMitchell.com. My name, Nicole, is with a K, NicoleMitchell.com. You can reach out to me on my website or on Instagram, and I will be happy to be in touch and figure out what you're looking for and how I can support you in getting there.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part, every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYOU101.com.
Here's the deal. The country's a mess, and America's youth is stuck at the center of a tug-of-war between propaganda, billionaires, and political clowns who think TikTok is a national security threat, yet can't open their own email. But the real threat that keeps them up at night isn't TikTok. It's the power of the youth vote, and that's what the Unfuck America Tour is after. We're traveling the country, hitting campuses and cities, exposing the right wing's playbook and calling out all the tricks they use to hook young people. We saw the youth vote shift in 2024, and if we don't reclaim that momentum now, we lose the future, our future. We're not bankrolled by billionaires, corporations, or dark money. We're backed by regular people like you, who won't sit back while the rich strip this country for parts. We need you to help us stay on the road to push back against the misinformation machine. Click the link in the description or head over to unfuckamericatour.com to donate, because nobody else is coming to fix this mess.
right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. We just had a little fun playing that Andrew Wilson debate I did yesterday. Some of those clips are going viral, and I think I'm leaning towards doing another debate with him, but there's going to have to be some different ground rules there, that's for sure. If all of those of you that are wondering, Leonard Cardinale is going to be joining us in studio tomorrow as my co-host, and Z Cohen, the founder of the Un-F America tour. You might have just heard the ad that was played. She's going to be joining us in studio on Friday. So I interview all sorts of different people from different backgrounds, to legal experts, to attorneys, to politicians, to celebrities. I don't interview a lot of judges. I think in my career, I've only interviewed a few in my 22-year radio career. So this is certainly a pleasure to have Judge Matthew Walker joining us in studio and kind of get his opinions on the layout, not just what's going on necessarily here in Vegas, since this is a national show, what's going on nationally. Judge, first of all, thank you so much for being here. It's good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing great, Chuck. Thanks for having me.
Brian, by the way. Brian, that's okay. I've been called worse than Chuck. I've been called worse before.
Brian,
that's okay. I'll give Andre hell for that. No, that's
right?
That's okay. So, Judge, you've been in your chair since February. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
What is your background legally? What is your background?
So I went to law school in the University of South Dakota, moved out to Vegas, and was a prosecutor in the Las Vegas City Attorney's Office for almost 17 years.
Gotcha. Okay, so you've been doing this a very long time.
Yep.
I want to ask you a very general question to start. I am appalled, and I'm sure you are, at any judge that is attacked, his family is attacked, his or her ethics, you name it. And I feel like in the Donald Trump administration, at least lately, if they don't like a ruling that a judge puts forth, instead of respecting it, they attack the judge. They call them radical judges, right? Even if they're appointed by George W. Bush. I'm wondering, as someone who is a judge yourself, when you hear this sort of stuff, what goes through your mind?
Well, I think the biggest thing to remember is judges are part of the criminal justice system, just like police and other first responders. And so it is the sort of thing where where our opinions and our decisions are going to be challenged. The thing that we have to keep as sort of our guiding light is not to let any challenges from whatever political spectrum color what we feel is the right thing to do under the law.
Mm-hmm.
And that really needs to be the guiding post when it comes to the ruling to making the decisions we make. If the law needs to change, that's not up to us. We have to, keep our faith in the legislature that they're going to do what needs to be done.
Do you follow the news regularly? Like, do you follow what's going on in the world, what's going on in this country, political? Like, do you follow that?
I do to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, because I have a role here locally, I pay a lot more attention to what's going on the state and county levels. But certainly, as a public official, I need to know what's going on in the national scale too.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I think that's incredibly important. I feel like, and again, not getting too political here, but I feel like with this administration, if they don't like a ruling or they don't agree with a ruling, they lash out and they attack and they don't respect the rule of law. But if they approve of a judge's ruling or it's a ruling in their favor, then I wouldn't say promote, but they coddle to or give compliments to the judge who makes a certain ruling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's a very good example that is being set right now. What are your thoughts on that?
I definitely think that if there's an agenda, the agenda should stick to the political realm. I think judicial rulings are inherently intended to be apolitical.
Mm-hmm.
They are supposed to reflect how the rule of law is to be enforced and interpreted, and aren't made with a certain political bent or a certain political outcome intended.
Mm-hmm.
I think it seems like an interesting time. I don't recall judicial rulings on a federal level ever getting this type of attention.
Yeah.
So I think it definitely seems to have changed from prior years.
Judge, we hear all the time the saying, nobody is above the law, which I tend to agree with that saying. What are your thoughts with the Supreme Court ruling on giving the President of the United States immunity?
Well, I think, again, it really comes down to what those judges feel the law supports, and they have to look at the specific facts. It's a very particular situation involving the president and what happened. And I think ultimately what the judges who are in that position feel is appropriate given the law is the ruling that we all have to live with.
Do you feel like, I know you've only been a judge since February, but do you feel like there are judges in this country that are biased, that politics could lead to a role of giving someone leniency or not punishing somebody as harsh as they should, or maybe vice versa, because they might not like somebody personally for political reasons? Do you feel like that is a presence in the United States?
I don't know that I would say it's a presence, but I know it's certainly a danger. Judges have we've got a lot of power. I mean, even I'm a judge for Las Vegas Municipal Court, and we only handle misdemeanors. But even at the municipal court level, we have a lot of authority, and we've got an obligation, consistent with the judicial canons, and to do things in a way that is impartial, that is not skewed by personal bias. But anytime, again, even at a state level, but obviously all the way up the chain to the Supreme Court, anytime someone is in that position, there is a potential for abuse. There's a potential for bias. So again, kind of going back to what I said before, as judges, it's our obligation to always constantly be on the lookout for that. Anytime we issue a ruling, take a minute and make sure we're doing that because the law supports it, not because it is going to have a certain outcome that we feel on a personal level is what we want to see happen.
In your lifetime, what do you think was the most, I don't want to use the term interesting, but unique trial that you still think about right now?
Wow, that's a tough one. Like I said, in municipal court, we handle all the misdemeanors in the city of Las Vegas. So anywhere from jaywalking tickets all the way up to all the way up to vehicular manslaughter, with DUI trials and domestic violence trials probably being the most prominent. I will say there was a DUI trial that a colleague of mine put on where the defendant's defense was that he, under the Commerce Clause, he was allowed to transport alcohol. And his defense was he was only transporting alcohol in his body. And so he couldn't be prohibited from transporting the alcohol that he had drank. So I always think about that one and the arguments. I got to sit in on the trial and watch some of the arguments and some of the mental gymnastics the defense attorney had to go through to put that forward.
That's a lot. I mean, since we are talking about some local cases, I'm going to bring up one, and I know you didn't preside over this case. You didn't have all the evidence. I get that. But this was a national story, a former Raider football player, Henry Ruggs, if we're talking about DUIs. This is a guy that was going 155 miles an hour. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. He was clearly drunk on Rainbow. He killed an innocent young woman and her dog. He gets several years in prison. I've seen cases that are far less egregious without a death and people getting a longer sentence. I think for the most part, I do my best to respect our justice system, and I know you do as well. And I do my best, even though I might not agree with a jury's decision or a judge's decision, I still try to respect it. It's very hard for me to respect our justice system when I see someone kill somebody and have no regard for the law, driving that fast and killing somebody and only spending a couple of years in jail. This is where I put my hands up in the air. I said, I don't care how much money he has or what type of attorney he has. This is not right. And we need to do something about this. I mean, I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts on that? And again, I know you didn't preside over the case. Sure. I know that you didn't make the decisions. But for the most part, you know the basics of what this case was all about because he admitted to it. He owned it. Are you comfortable with that as a judge? When somebody kills somebody going that fast, that's drunk, a couple of years in prison, I find that to be like a slap on the wrist.
Yeah, I certainly get the sentiment of that. It's just a horrific outcome, just unimaginable. And what I would say when it comes to sentencing, one of the things that is most important to remember is that there are a world of additional facts and factors that go into the negotiation of a case, and not necessarily in the Ruggs case in particular, but in the general sense, the prosecution puts forward an offer of resolution and tries to negotiate with the defense attorney based on the strength of their case. As judges, we don't know how strong their case is. And we don't know what the reason for certain negotiated settlements or certain recommended pleas and recommended sentencing recommendations are. And I would say I always try to keep that in mind when it comes to headlines and the outcomes, because those additional overarching factors often play a part in the outcome in a way that we just don't see in the public. So I think whenever I see something, a situation like you're talking with this Ruggs case, where I see a sentence and I'm not sure where it came from, I try to keep in mind that there's a lot of context that goes into that single moment of sentencing.
I understand that. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about immigration. Obviously, if you're in this country illegally, it's a misdemeanor. What do you make of the fact that we have ICE agents all over the country, some of whom are not identifying themselves? I thought that was against the law. I thought if you're an ICE agent, you have to identify who you are. We're seeing throughout this country people that have committed misdemeanors that might have not have the proper documentation. It almost looks like they're being kidnapped. We've seen it outside of courtrooms where there are individuals that are seeking asylum and they're going about it the right way. They're showing up to court, and then right outside the courtroom with their families right there, they're being tackled by what we think are ICE agents. I don't know about you, but this is my opinion. This is not the country that I want to live in. I want everyone to be here legally in a perfect world. But did you ever think in your lifetime that we would see what's happening right now, where outside of Home Depots and grandmothers and mothers and people that have lived it that are nonviolent criminals? I'm not talking about the violent criminals, nonviolent criminals that are being tackled and separated from their families. I mean, as a judge, I'm just curious, like, what your thoughts are on that.
It's, clearly it's a really divisive issue. It's something that there's been a lot I've seen, just in my own experience, I've seen, news clippings of things that just seem completely unheard of. And one of the things I go back to is I don't know the context of those specific instances. And I do know that on the things that are within the authority of what we have is generally what I focus on, because the cases that come in front of me, those are the circumstances where I do know what's going on, where I do have the context for certain outcomes. And I definitely noticed that it's had an impact in terms of the defendants that we have come through our court system and the ramifications on the back end when we do have people that are in custody. And so it's, you would ask if I ever thought in my lifetime I would see these sort of course of action and these things happening. To my recollection, I've never seen this sort of sequence of events.
Why do you think we're at a point we're at in this country now where this is happening? This sequence of events is happening. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's racism? Do you think it's people in this country that just don't want immigrants to be here? I guess the two go hand in hand with race. But why do you think we're at this point right now where this is happening in this country, when this country was founded on immigrants? Why do you think this is happening?
Well, I feel like the administration has taken a position and they are doing everything that they feel is appropriate to follow through with the position. Now, how it's being executed and the efficacy of that execution, I think, is yet to be seen. Mm-hmm. But it really comes down to the decision makers making the choice that this is how they're going to proceed.
I wanted to ask you about people who are found liable. For example, and I'm going to give two different cases. I grew up with the O.J. Simpson case, right? And he was found not guilty of double murder, but yet he was found civilly liable for the murders of Ronald Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson. I always believed that O.J. Simpson committed that heinous crime. I bring this up because Donald Trump was found liable for sexually abusing E. Jean Carroll. And there are many people that say you can be found liable for anything, and the standards of evidence that needs to be provided, the threshold is very low. And I say to myself, well, first of all, and tell me if you disagree with this, we don't know all the evidence that the jury saw. Number two, a jury of his peers found him liable for sexually abusing E. Jean Carroll. Can you explain what that means? And for Trump defenders out there that say, Anybody could be found liable for anything. Doesn't it have to be proven in a court of law, and a jury has to make? Can you just walk me through that and how that works?
Well, I'll give a caveat and say I've practiced almost exclusively criminal law. And so when it comes to civil liability, that is well outside my wheelhouse. But you're right in that there are different burdens of proof. The criminal burden is the highest possible burden. It's beyond a reasonable doubt. And when it comes into situations like the OJ case, the jury felt that the evidence did not meet that very high standard. It didn't mean that the evidence was completely unreliable or completely unbelievable, but they didn't feel it rose to that level. Like you said, in the civil realm, the burden is much lower. It doesn't mean that the plaintiff doesn't have to prove their case. The plaintiff certainly does. They do have to present evidence, and that evidence has to be weighed by the jury and found sufficient to meet the burden.
Sure.
The difference is the difference between whether or not the evidence is clearly convincing or whether or not the evidence is beyond a reasonable doubt is where that distinction comes from.
Understood. If you're just joining us, by the way, he is Judge Matthew Walker out here in Las Vegas. We also, of course, want to talk about this Armed Forces Chamber Veterans Fair that you guys are going to be doing tomorrow. I certainly want to give you time to talk about that. I also want to take some phone calls. I'm going to ask him one more question. Then I do want to take some calls, any type of legal questions. Not every day you get to speak to a judge, Judge Matthew Walker here in studio. So I will open up the phone lines at 702-221-7283. And again, that number to call with really any legal questions, and he'll answer them to the best of his ability. Certainly a ton of more knowledge than I have in this category. And again, that number is 702-221-7283. We hear the word incitement a lot. Incitement of violence. You incited somebody to do something. I do want to bring up January 6th because it has always been my personal opinion that Donald Trump incited what took place that day. Why? Because he lied about the 2020 election. He riled up a lot of people. He got people very upset in thinking that the election was stolen, which it wasn't. And I always make the argument that if Donald Trump conceded the election and didn't say the election was stolen, January 6th doesn't happen. Now, Jack Smith didn't apparently figure that there was enough evidence to charge him with incitement. Okay, I trust Jack Smith. I think he's a good guy. He's a smart guy. What is your definition of incitement? And in that specific situation, if you lie about an election, and we all know that's why people were there that day and they committed some horrible crimes, did you think that rose to the level of incitement? And what is your definition of incitement?
Well, again, I'll give another caveat to say I haven't looked at the federal statutes, so I don't know what the federal definition of incitement is. I do know, again, similar to the immigration situation, it's very polarizing. I know there were people on both sides that felt very strongly about whether or not it was appropriate what happened. I think it is always complicated when things start to get violent and when the government's sovereignty is questioned. And like so much else, I'm going to fall back on the idea that there is a lot of context surrounding things, but anytime citizens do things that are public facing, that result in violence, it really comes down to a fact by fact determination.
Yeah, understood. I want to talk to you about someone who used to be a magistrate judge, a woman by the name of Michelle Fiore. Donald Trump recently just gave her a pardon. Now, I can get your opinions on pardons in general, but before I do that, our Governor Joe Lombardo, in a court of law under oath, said that he was one of the victims, meaning what Michelle Fiore was charged with and what she was convicted of in a court of law. She basically stole money from a police officer's fund to build a statue for two fallen officers that were brutally murdered at a pizza parlor here in Las Vegas. A terrible story. And I think about, oh, great, a statue is going to be put up. Let's honor these officers. I think that's great. It was proven in a court of law. She was found guilty of literally stealing money from that fund. One of those people that donated to that fund, who openly admitted that he was a victim in a court of law, is our governor. It was proven. She's guilty. She was going to be sentenced. And then Donald Trump gives her a pardon for no reason. Never gave a reason, just gave her a pardon. Now, if I was a judge, I would be personally offended by that. You have a job to do, and the jury has a job to do, and the attorneys have a job to do, and the work was put in. She was found guilty. The system, I believe, worked. And then Donald Trump says, hey, you know what? Get out of jail free pass. I know that what Donald Trump did wasn't against the law. He has the right to pardon who he wants to pardon. That's not my argument. But again, as someone, you've practiced law for so many years, and now you're a judge. Do you find that offensive that you have a woman who literally stole? That's what she did, from a police officer's fund to build this statue for these fallen cops. And our own governor, who's a huge Trump supporter, apparently, admitted that he was a victim. She's found guilty, and Trump gives her a pardon. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that.
Well, obviously, before she was Nye County Justice of the Peace, she was our city councilwoman, and had a long political career prior to that. And I will just say I don't know the circumstances of the pardon, but obviously the ramification is clear. The conviction's overturned, and what I fall back on is I believe in the system that we have, and the system includes a process for pardons. Now, when those are used, how those are used, and why those are used, we're not always going to know the bases. But the fact that that is part of the system is something that, again, as a judge, I have to respect.
You have to respect it. I don't agree with it. I think it's wrong, and I think it sets a very bad, precedents moving forward. I think about, and by the way, do you think that pardons should be a part of the presidency? Because I'm just saying, in a general term, I'm not comfortable with it. I don't think I'm not okay with pardons. Some people are found guilty, and maybe they're not treated fairly, and totally get that part of it. But I think it's abused by every president. I think it's abused. I don't think pardons should be allowed. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but that's just my personal opinion.
I think what I really would have to do is research a little more where those came from, and what the basis was for the founding fathers to incorporate pardons as a component of the judicial authority, because I think that's what the original basis was. I think would factor into really whether or not it's an appropriate pardon.
Yeah, I mean, I look at Michelle Fiore, and she was a huge Trump supporter, a huge supporter of the president of the United States. And I guarantee you 100% beyond the shadow of doubt, if Michelle Fiore was a Democrat, in my personal opinion, she would not have received a pardon. But that's my personal opinion. Why don't we get to the phone calls at 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you'd like to be a part of the conversation with Judge Matthew Walker and his experience in law, feel free to call in 702-221-7283. Let's start off with Darlene. Hi, Darlene.
Hey, Brian. I'm the judge, but that's not why I was calling. Brian, I have a question. How many men have had abortions out there?
As far as I know, I don't know of any men that have had abortions. Judge, I think you would agree with me probably on that.
Not that I've heard of.
Andrew. It is men like you, white women, have abortions. Because let me tell you something. A woman can get pregnant, and you don't know her situation from Adam. Everybody's different.
Just to let Judge Matthew understand, Darlene is speaking to a debate I had with a guy named Andrew who believes that abortion is murder. Abortion is legal in the state of Nevada, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So when someone says, I'm just curious what your thoughts are on this. When someone makes a generic statement and says, you're a murderer because you had an abortion, Judge, what would you say to somebody like that? Do you just say, well, wait a second, it's legal in the state of Nevada? Like, how do you respond to somebody like that?
I think this stuff comes up a lot nowadays, where people start with labels and people start discussions off on an emotional note, rather than trying to put out their opinion, find out the opinion of the other side, and see if there's any common ground. I think if you open the door with you're a murderer, you're immediately shutting the door to any sort of compromise or discussion. And I think that goes for both sides of the aisle. It seems like people, especially online, are just so quick to throw labels on things and emotionally charge them.
So I completely agree with you. And I've always told people, look, maybe there should be a 5-month or 4-month, threshold to when a woman has an abortion. Okay, fine. I would be okay with that. But it's like, I don't know how you look at a 13-year-old girl in the eye that might have been the victim of a sexual assault and say, you're forced to have that baby. It's like, who are we as Americans to do that? That's a huge issue that I have. And I know those are extreme issues, but you've seen them before. It's tragic. It's terrible. And when somebody uses their religion, right? Go ahead, Darlene. Did you have something else you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, what I wanted to say was, Andrew, if you men are so worried about these abortions, then keep your penis in your pants because
Okay.
we're sick of it.
We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that, Darlene. I appreciate your call. 702, that's a motion. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's see, who do we have next year? Let's go to Peter. Peter's next on PTL. Hi, Peter. You're on with Judge Matthew Walker. Go right ahead.
What's up, Brian? How are you?
Good.
Man, I really hated having to watch the debate on Andrew Wilson's YouTube channel. What happened to yours?
Yeah, I wasn't able to broadcast live. We weren't able to cross stream together, and that's why I wasn't able to put the entire debate up there live. However, my editor was able to put up 4 or 5 clips of the debate, and hopefully we'll be able to put up the entire debate today. But there are 4 or 5 clips up on my YouTube page right now. You have a question for Judge Matthew Walker by chance?
You know what? I don't. I'm sorry. I was.
That's all right. That's okay.
I'm in late. Apologize for that.
No
I just wanted to commend you for not ducking Wilson like he ducked you on Pierce Morgan because of that stream issue. So
that is true. I don't duck. Thank you. I appreciate the phone call. Yeah, I had a 2-hour debate with somebody yesterday who's a known figure on the right, and every single time I brought up something that I think Donald Trump has done unlawful or something that I think Donald Trump has done that is immoral, he would say that doesn't rise to the level of 600,000 babies being murdered, referring to abortion. And listen, I call myself, pro-choice. I don't want to tell a woman what to do with her body. And I know everybody has a different opinion on that. And I know it's a hot topic, but I just feel like it's a bad faith debate argument. Listen, you're a former prosecutor. You know a thing or two about debate, right? And arguments, and this is what you do. But I'm wondering, maybe you could give me some advice here. How do you have a debate with somebody about Donald Trump's ethics when every single time you bring something up, he brings it back to the abortion issue and says, that's not as bad as babies being murdered? I don't know how I can have a debate with somebody like that, right? I mean, I don't know. How would you debate somebody like that? I don't have it in me. I don't know.
Well, and Brian, I'll kind of loop back to what I was talking about before with putting labels on things and things getting emotional. I don't mean in any way to downplay when people have very strong feelings about something. I know there are certainly people that feel abortion is murder bar none. But when it comes to having an interaction with someone and sitting down to have a debate, to have an intellectual discussion about certain topics, I think the first thing to do is lay some ground rules, and I think you kind of alluded to this at the beginning of the broadcast, and say, okay, these are the issues that we're not going to make any progress one way or the other on. These are the issues where we feel like we have some intellectual room to discuss and maybe consider different viewpoints. And when I will say, just in the general, one of the things that as a trial attorney, I put on dozens of trials in Las Vegas Municipal Court, and I will say there were certainly defense attorneys who would try to bring up collateral issues or try to bring up things that were unrelated but maybe emotionally charged to their defense when they didn't have anything else. And one of those things that I had the benefit of having an impartial judge, a referee, but one of the things to just hold as a guiding light is I'm talking about a specific category of things. We can get to your issue once we've addressed that category of things.
Yeah.
And so that just keeping the focus on the topic at hand, I think, is about all you can do.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I wanted to ask you about another debate I had. So I had a debate with a guy by the name of Tim Pool. He is a very popular right-wing podcaster, and I'm actually going to do a show again in a few weeks. So we were talking about Donald Trump and why I can't support him, and I called Donald Trump a 34-count felon. And he wanted to get into the weeds with me as well. What did Donald Trump do wrong? What were the charges? What was this? What was that? And I said, I'm not going to get into the weeds. I don't have all the charges in front of me. I think it was falsifying business records and the whole Stormy Daniels thing. But isn't it true and isn't it factually accurate, no matter what somebody might think of the charges or the conviction, to say Donald Trump was found guilty by a jury of his peers on 34 felony counts? Is that a factually accurate thing to say?
Well, when it comes to facts, that is one of the great things about the integrity of the bench, and kind of looping back to what we talked about before with judges and us having to make sure that we make our rulings based not on bias but based on existing law. That when we make rulings, those rulings are fact, and when a jury makes a decision and we issue a sentence, that's part of the court record, and those things are facts. And whatever the outcome, whether it's the case that you're talking about or any other case across the country, the ruling of the judge is something that's verifiable, and thankfully readily available to the public.
So that was my entire point. Now, he wasn't sentenced, as you know. The reason why he wasn't sentenced is because he won re-election. If he didn't win re-election, he would have been sentenced. So it is still fair for me. Just because somebody wasn't sentenced doesn't mean they're not necessarily a convicted felon. Is that fair to say?
Well, again, I think you have to look at the record. If you look at the what's publicly available, the outcome of there was a ruling, and you can refer to a jurist ruling in the way that it was entered into the system, that it was made part of the public record.
I hear a lot of people defending Donald Trump, saying, well, these were really at worst misdemeanors, and they moved those misdemeanors to felony charges because it was Donald Trump. I don't believe that's true, but regardless whether it is or not, what would you say to somebody like that makes a claim like that this was politics, it was a weaponized DOJ? At worst, these were misdemeanors, and they moved those misdemeanors to felonies just to convict him to be a convicted felon. What would you say to somebody like that, as someone who is a judge yourself? Does that bother you? And what would you say to somebody like that?
Well, I'll say, as a former prosecutor, in the same way that we as the public don't know what goes into a plea negotiation or a sentencing recommendation, we as the public don't know why the prosecutors make the charging decisions that they do. We can speculate based on the public context, but at the end of the day, prosecutors evaluate the evidence that they have, and they file charges in a way that they feel is just, and in a way that they feel they have the evidence to support. So I would say, when it comes to the class of crime, that it really just falls under the integrity of the prosecution to follow those tenets.
Yeah, and again, a jury of his peers found him guilty. I think that's also extremely important. I want to ask you a little bit about due process.
Sure.
As you know, a huge scandal, you could call it maybe possible war crimes that have been committed on these boats. The Trump administration is making the case that these are drug smugglers. And by the way, they've shown no evidence to prove that. They haven't provided any. And it's just the, trust me, bro type attitude. And now there was a second strike on this boat. We know this for sure. The Trump administration has admitted to doing so. Apparently there were 2 survivors on this boat. They struck the boat again. That's not giving these individuals due process, is it? By the way, if they were smuggling drugs, I'm not defending what they were doing, but just because you're a drug smuggler doesn't mean that we can be judge and jury, for lack of a better term, and just say, kill, right? Everybody has the right to due process, do they not?
Everybody has a right to due process in our criminal justice system. I will tell you, this is well outside my experience level when it comes to foreign policy and engaging with either foreign entities or simply citizens of a different country. That is far outside my experience or knowledge.
Can I ask, going back to the immigration thing though, it doesn't matter whether you're a citizen or not, right? Everybody, doesn't that what it says in our Constitution? Every person. It doesn't say every citizen, right? Because I talk about this all the time on this show. Every person has the right to due process. Is that fair? Because that's what it says in our Constitution, right?
And like I said, that's a tenet of our criminal justice system.
Mm-hmm. So why is it? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but there are people in this country that are not getting due process. Some of these people are being sent to El Salvador prisons, non-violent criminals, because people have tattoos. Last I checked, Judge, it doesn't matter what tattoo you have on your body. You can't get arrested for that. It's not against the law to have a tattoo. What are your thoughts on that? Because you've dedicated your life to, obviously what is in our Constitution and rule of law. And it seems like there are people in this administration that are not defending, rule of law in our Constitution. Again, it doesn't say any citizen has the right to due process, any person.
And you're just looking for my thoughts on the concept?
Yeah, well, the concept of people in this country right now, which I think is unprecedented, whether they're illegal or not getting due process. I mean, I think of Garcia, who was sent to an El Salvador prison, and the administration said he was a gang member. He had tattoos that were unverified that he was a gang member. He had never been prosecuted for any violent crime in his life. He's sent to an El Salvador prison where allegedly many others were there that were nonviolent criminals, that were beaten, that were victims of torture. And that's not giving human beings due process. And I find this as an abomination of what you said of everyone deserves the right to due process in this country. It's the foundation, right, of what our forefathers put in place, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, due process, like I said, our criminal justice system wouldn't work without it. And in fact, it's founded on the concept that people are innocent until proven guilty. When it comes to, like I said before, when it comes to immigration issues, first off, it's outside the scope of my knowledge. I'm just, when it comes to enforcing those, when it comes to ICE enforcement authority and immigration law, I'll say I've never practiced immigration law. So that is well outside my experience. I'm just like, every other member of the public when it comes to that.
But obviously you agree with me that every person, as it says in our Constitution, has the right to due process. Every person, not every citizen, right? But every person. I think that's a very important distinction, right?
Well, and I understand where you're coming from on that. I think, again, like you said, due process is a foundation of our criminal justice system. And so it is, and it is one of the virtues, I think, that our country was founded on.
I agree. And I think that's being broken right now. And that's why I talk about these topics every day. I want to give you the opportunity, because you're involved in something that is very, very cool tomorrow. And a friend of mine out there does a great job as well in putting these types of events together. The Armed Forces Chamber Veterans Resource Fair, which is going to be tomorrow, and you're a big part of that. Tell me about it, where it is, what time it is, and how people can show up to this.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thanks, Brian. The Veterans Resource Fair, it'll be our inaugural event tomorrow, Las Vegas Municipal Court, Department 1. It is going to be at 100 East Clark, which is our municipal court building. It's going to start at 10 a.m. and run till about 1 p.m. But if you haven't pre-registered, which you can do that by going to the Armed Forces Chambers Facebook page or my Facebook page, Judge Matt Walker, where we have a QR code to pre-register. If you haven't pre-registered, you may want to show up a little bit before 10 so you can get the paperwork filled out so we can refer you to the right vendors. We're going to have a little around 20 different vendors there.
Wow.
We're also going to, and the vendors run the gamut. There'll be some with resources, food service connection, job connection. There'll be some representatives from the Veterans Outreach there. We're going to have legal aid, a couple of different legal aid organizations there, all the way up to Small Business Association and the Armed Forces Chamber there to help veterans who are interested in starting their own business. Another component of the fair is going to be case processing. So if somebody has an open case in Las Vegas Municipal Court that is, say, currently in bench warrant, or they have a case where they're struggling with getting some of their requirements met, be it fines, counseling, or they simply have gotten off track and they're not sure what to do. we're going to try and handle those cases and give some of those folks some direction as well. Like I said, it's something that the Armed Forces Chamber and I came up with together to try and reach a little bit bigger footprint of veterans than I'm currently able to reach. I'm the judge that presides over our Veterans Treatment Court. So it's
awesome.
And
that's how you know my friend Andre Haynes, who's a great guy, by the way, and does a lot of great things in this community. And this is another wonderful event that you guys are putting on. Is it free?
It is. Yeah,
that's
it's
awesome.
Free to attend, free to to get the connections, and free to come in and get those cases handled.
Very cool. I'm really glad you guys are doing this tomorrow, and you're helping the community in a big way. Why don't we try to squeeze in one more call? We have someone else on the line. Let's go to Herb, my good friend Herb. Herb, what's going on, man?
Hey, Brian, thanks for taking my call. I appreciate that. I just want to tell the judge that I really appreciate the fact that as much as you're trying to get him to come out against the Trump administration and some of the rulings.
I'm not trying to do that.
And yes, well,
no, I'm not. I'm asking him legal questions.
Like it, but he's coming from a very judicial point of view. He's not showing any kind of bias or anything like that.
Right.
It's
I
very
agree.
It's very difficult for you. It's very difficult for you to come from a unbiased perspective because you have such hate for the Trump administration.
So Herb, what have we learned? Hold on, Herb. Hang on.
I just want to finish.
Okay, I'll let you finish, Herb.
Judge, thank you very much.
Okay, so Herb, what have we learned in this? And by the way, I agree with you. I don't think he's being biased at all. But what have we learned? We've learned that every person in this country has the right to due process. That is not what the Trump administration is doing. The judge also confirmed what we already knew. Donald Trump is a 34-count convicted felon. Herb, do you need any clarification there?
Don't need any clarification.
Thank you. Okay, so
you've been trying.
You support.
Been hard,
so
Herb, and he is not taking the bait. I really appreciate
Herb, there
that.
was no bait. But I think we've learned in this conversation that you voted for a 34-count convicted felon and somebody that is breaking our Constitution and ripping it into pieces that is not giving people due process. Herb, I wish you were smart enough to understand that. But that's okay, Herb. Thank you very much for the phone call. Let's go to Brad. Brad is next up on PTL. Brad, what's going on?
Hey, first, I want to say, Judge, congratulations on winning your election. It's always good to see former prosecutors get on the bench because, they're going to be more tough on crime. So congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you.
My next point, real quick, Brian, I say this as constructive criticism. I really think you need to take a formal debate course.
Okay, well, thank you, Brad. Thank you, Brad. I appreciate that. And where would you get that from, my friend? Where would you get that a wonderful opinion from?
Watching you.
Watching me. Well, I think you need to take a course on how to call into radio shows and make valid points. So I guess we're both even, aren't we, sir?
I mean,
Brad, I think you need to take a course. I think you need to take a course on how to make phone calls into radio shows. So I guess both our opinions are very valid, aren't they?
Brian, don't get defensive.
Brad, don't get defensive.
Take the criticism.
Brad, don't get. Okay, so what did I do wrong? So what did I do wrong? If you're going to criticize
me, you came with your regular talking point.
Okay, so what did I do wrong? What talking point? What talking point? Be specific, sir.
You didn't even understand the ethical standards.
Oh, no, I did. First of all, the debate wasn't about an ethical standard and where you get it from, but I do understand ethics. I got ethics.
You don't.
Actually, I do, and that is your opinion that I don't. And I'd like you to come up with an actual, since you must be a professional master debater, why don't you give me a specific example that would lead you to that conclusion? To that hypothesis, for lack of a better term. Go ahead, sir.
You had no answer.
Okay.
I mean, granted,
all I've heard. Hold on. You don't have to. We have 1 minute left in the phone call, so I don't have time for you to give me anything. I don't need you to give me anything. Okay. You called into this show. You made a claim that I need to take a debating course. You said I didn't make any valid points. And in this entire conversation, you haven't been specific. You said I had, quote, talking points, but you weren't specific. So now, Brad, let me give you a debating 101 course. Okay, sir. When you form a claim about somebody, I'm going to give you some coaching, and I will charge you for it, sir. Okay, I will charge you for it. By the way, here's another tip for you. When you call in and when the host is talking, that means you stop talking because it's my show and not yours. Next time you call in with a claim, Brad, come up with a reason behind it and not generalities like you didn't know anything or you had talking points. Be specific. Now let me be specific. In a 90-minute debate, all he did was talk about how he thinks abortion is murder, and he got his ethical system from his Christianity. That wasn't what the debate was about. It was about Donald Trump and his lack of ethics. So, Brad, I think you need to go back and take a course on how to make a phone call into a political conversation. Anyway, Judge, thank you so much for being here. These are the type of people that call into the show sometimes. I don't know. Unfortunately, if you're biased and on one side of the aisle. By the way, for the record, do you feel like I was trying to coerce you into saying something bad about Donald Trump?
I think you were asking me about hot button issues that are political.
Thank you. Correct. I would agree with you. They were hot button issues, and I appreciate you answering those questions honestly. And by the way, I agree with everything you said, even though I don't have the knowledge that you have. So check them out tomorrow. The Armed Forces Chamber Veterans Resource Fair, helped put on by my friend Andre Haynes and, of course, Judge Matthew Walker downtown. I think what you guys are doing is absolutely awesome. It's a great service to the community, and it's free. And at this time, these times that we are living in today, that's huge. Judge, I'd love to have you on again sometime. I really appreciate your experience, and thank you for being here. And I hope your event goes really well tomorrow. I know it will.
Awesome. Thank you again so much, Brian. It's really great to get the chance to get the word out.
Absolutely, Judge. And I'm very appreciative to you and what you guys are doing, and Andre and the gang. All right, everybody. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Same time, same place. And tomorrow, Leonard Cardinale will be joining us in studio as well. Have a great day, everybody.
Here's the deal. The country's a mess, and America's youth is stuck at the center of a tug-of-war between propaganda, billionaires, and political clowns who think TikTok is a national security threat, yet can't open their own email. But the real threat that keeps them up at night isn't TikTok. It's the power of the youth vote, and that's what the Unfuck America tour is after. We're traveling the country, hitting campuses and cities, exposing the right wing's playbook and calling out all the tricks they use to hook young people. We saw the youth vote shift in 2024, and if we don't reclaim that momentum now, we lose the future, our future.